March shade tree meeting. We have a quorum here, and we are ready. We have a few changes in our list tonight, so we're starting with number 2, 309 Edge Hill Road. Could you come up and introduce yourself and explain your plan to us?
Good evening, Rob Lambert from Site Engineering Concepts here on behalf of the applicant. This plan came in front of you, I want to say 2 or 3 months ago. And the plan in front that I have right now is the previous plan that was approved. We had a stormwater basin that was originally actually going to be up in the front yard. After coming to the Planning Commission meeting, we actually moved it over to a side yard over near the existing pool. We were putting the stormwater basin there. Subsequent to that, the owner has a landscape architect involved and looked at some changes. So the plan that's now in front of you can see we've changed around some of the pool deck. The patio relationships have changed. The additions are still the same. A little bit of a new front walkway, a little bit of a reconfiguration of the driveway. There's only one additional tree that's being removed. It's a 6-inch dogwood that's off the kind of the edge of the pool, which will be removed as part of this application. But the big change that we did was we actually moved the stormwater basin from where you were a little bit concerned about it over on the side to smack underneath the driveway. So we're now proposing that right underneath the driveway, really to limit impacts around behind the house. So that's the big change in the project.
Are there any additional trees, or you're taking on the same trees you were before?
Yeah, there was one change. There's a 6-inch dogwood right here, and it's probably generous to call it 6 inches, but small dogwood right here that's going to be removed near the pool deck. This plan only shows the requisite tree planting. The landscape plan, they're doing lots of planting here. We just don't have that as part of the required planting.
That maple on the north side of the new garage, that was out from last time, right?
This one? Yes, that was removed. That was removed as part of the last plan.
Okay.
Really, the big change here was the stormwater basin.
Mr. Ward, I have a question for the engineer, if that would be okay. Mr. Lambert, on the new plan, the proposed plan, the level spreader is located, I'll say, east of the 22-inch tree located near the driveway.
Yes.
And that just charges into somewhat of a faint swale going down there. Would it be possible to bring that, for lack of a better direction, south between the 18 and 50-inch oak and let it discharge down that slope as opposed to going into a swale? I don't know if that could cause some erosion by those trees. I don't want to get too close to the 50-inch oak.
Yeah, I want to try to avoid that as much as possible.
But, I mean, based on your representation of the drip line, and I know that's not a surveyed representation.
That's right.
Would that be possible to swing that over towards the 18-inch walnut and let it flow down there, and not so much in a concentrated fashion?
I don't see a problem in that at all.
Thank you.
Can that ask me again, just for my own interest? What are you trying to do?
Right now, the level spreader will discharge.
If you look at the screen
there.
here, he'd like to move the level spreader that's here. He'd like to move it over almost where it's here, the C, and change, maybe a contour level down there, but move it over to this area. So the water's then going to run down through the front yard instead of kind of down, and then it'll run almost along the edge of the driveway there, which I do not have a problem with. The exact location of that will work with the landscape architect so they can kind of disguise it so it's not in the middle of the lawn.
Just a question on the rear of the new garage. You have a new storm water pipe to go to your new basin.
Yes.
We're getting close to, there's a tree that's demarcated right through that gray
Right here, I think it's like more of a shrub. I think it's a yew or it's more of a shrub than a tree. This right here is what you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
So the drip line
That's a planting bed right there, and so that whole planting bed is removed as part of this project, so that's all going to be changed.
okay, so it must be under a 6-inch plant then, I guess?
Yeah, it's really a shrub. Yeah, they're going to be extensively planting it. The owner's working with Ann Walters.
And if I may add, this falls under the previous ordinance, because that's when the submission was, under that old
Yeah,
ordinance.
they're actually already under construction out there.
This came to us just like this before. We were just expanding the pool a little bit, right?
The previous plan, the building additions were the same. The patio is a little different, the little addition to the pool patio area, and the stormwater basin was over here. So it's just, that's really the difference.
There's another project I was thinking of. This isn't it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, we're in agreement here? Yep. Okay, very good.
Great, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next up, we have 502 Heather Circle, remove pool, fill in with 86 cubic yards of dirt, leave on site. You can come up.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Jim Wolotarski. My wife and I purchased a home a couple months back at 502 Heather. That's part of the Inverary Association. I actually was here a month ago to talk about a tree removal.
It's a big tree.
Yes, sir.
60-footer, yeah.
Yes, sir, it certainly is. Tonight, it's a pool. I didn't realize, or I could have done this perhaps a month ago and save everybody time by way of me being here. I didn't realize that we had to come before the commission relative to a pool removal, but learned that, so here we are. When my wife and I decided to downsize last year, we started looking for homes without a pool. The home we owned just down from 502 Heather Circle has a large pool. And we found this home, discovered we could stay in the same neighborhood. It was a small pool. The pool equipment was on its way out, and we said, we'll remove the pool. We'll remove the flagstone, which was around the pool, and we'll create lawn, and we'll redesign some of the shrubbery. That's what we're attempting to do. It is not a large pool to start with. You can see the design on the plan itself. I believe we provided you with at least 3 photos from different vantage points relative to the pool. I saw that wonderful screen there. I don't know whether this will work for you, but this is probably the best of the 3 by way of showing you, for your consideration, access to the pool. To create access, we already removed a bunch of azaleas and some arborvitae, which was screening that entire area. That was going to be part of our landscaping redesign anyway. So we've created a very open access. To the right in the picture behind the pool equipment is a sweet bay and a couple medium-sized dogwoods, none of which have a caliper of 6 inches. They range between, there are multiple branches on the dogwoods, or trunks, I guess, likewise on the sweet bay, none of which are over 4.5 to 5 inches. Most of them between 1 and 3. So from our standpoint, from Mahoney Builders' standpoint, he's the general contractor on this, we believe that we have open and good access, no damage to any roots of the very small trees that are on either side, and we'd like you're okay to proceed to remove the pool. All of the pool will be removed. There's just a 1-foot apron right now around the pool, surrounding the pool. There is no other concrete, no other impervious area. So we're trying to create more open area rather than impervious area. And that's what I'm here for tonight.
You're just going to put lawn there? Is that just going to put lawn?
We're going to put basically lawn, but not all lawn. We're going to put some
Garden.
shrubbery as well. And as part of last month's discussion, we're going to plant, actually, the requirement via you was 3 trees. We're going to plant quite a few more than 3 trees on the property, including, as I recall, the chairman last week suggested some canopy trees. We're including canopy trees as well.
That's great. So just the pool comes out, Jim, and that's your egress is just right through to where that pickup truck is that we see in the picture there?
Yeah, you're actually looking out at the street. The far distance is the street.
Okay.
So we'll come straight in, remove the pool. That's sand in the foreground here where there used to be flagstone. And on the other side of the pool there is sand where there used to be flagstone. And that's all going to be lawn and other shrubbery as we complete it. The entire pool, the concrete or whatever that material is, will be removed. The piping to the equipment that you see in there will be removed, as well as the equipment, and clean fill will be put into the hole.
Okay. Are they going to could they put, I see a little bit of tree protection in the back here on the one picture, Jim, the one shot, they have some tree protection, or is just fencing around the
This one here.
pool so no one gets in there?
The
I
orange
guess?
is temporary tree
Sa-
fencing.
Like
so
a
the-
safety fence so no one...
Exactly. That's just fencing. There's no tree behind that. The pool is behind that.
Could you have the contractor maybe put some tree protection fence on the side of that sweet bay, just so they don't get close to it?
Certainly can. It's actually in this picture. I guess I should do that. In that picture, as you view it to the left, that's actually a dogwood.
Oh, okay.
And what we thought we would do is just temporarily tie back some of those branches so that the equipment doesn't hit them. But again, that's fairly wide. We're not certain we'd even need to do that, but
Okay.
Like there's like what looks like a curb there?
that's Belgian block.
Uh-huh.
That's coming out anyway.
How close to that are vehicles going to get? Is that going to interfere with the roots under that, Jim?
I don't,
See what I'm talking about?
oh, Jim Ward, not Jim Wolotarski, okay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You see where if he gets real close to where that Belgian block or curve looks like on the left, is he going to get on the roots?
Right, that's why I thought they have enough room, I think, to get to a little bit more to the right, Jim, as you get in there, so you're not right on top of that Belgian block?
Yeah, there's a lot more room if you were to go to the property, you would see Belgian block aprons everywhere. We've already taken out 2 skid loads of Belgian block. The former owners, God love them, seem to like Belgian block. That Belgian block was for a bed of flowers that are now starting to come up rather than a delineation for the tree. But there is, Mr. Ward, there is more room to come to the right there. In the foreground of this particular picture, there are some more azaleas. We've already temporarily removed a lot of azaleas. We can certainly remove those as well.
Yeah, that'd be great if they could stay to that one side more than being on the low side.
We can
That's
certainly do
always-
that.
And,
If you look at this picture, you can see that there's a lot more room in there. The angle from over top of the pool back. You
Yeah,
can
it
see there's a
depends,
lot of-
it
there's a lot
depends
more
which,
area there.
which picture you're looking
Yeah,
at.
there's a lot more area there.
Again, this one may
Yeah.
be the most representative. You can see how wide that area
Right.
is on a straight shot out to, it's almost, with the exception of those azaleas that I just mentioned, it's almost as wide as the pool is long, the access to it.
I think they should be fine to access that way, and just keep them on that one side, a little bit away from that dogwood tree.
Okay.
And I think you should be in pretty good shape. So we got agreement?
Do you approve?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
to go.
Question, if I may?
Sir.
Since I filed up probably 2 months ago on the planning of this pool removal, what's the process now by way of the timing? Can I give the go-ahead to the contractor to start next week, or?
Once this is approved, now you have to get your demolition permit. This is part of the demolition permit approval process. It's coming here, so you have to, that permit will go through engineering for grading and codes, and then you'll be able to do that.
About how long does that take?
This is a pretty simple permit. I don't see it taking that long. I can't speak for them. I'll say a couple of weeks, maybe sooner. But, you know, you can come in tomorrow, fill out the necessary paperwork, and it can move forward. You're gonna, it comes under a grading permit because you're going to have a certain amount of area disturbed. And that's what it's going to look at. But you're not going to need stormwater management or anything like that. So it's going to be some erosion and sedimentation control.
Okay. The land, by the way, is almost perfectly flat now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Looks like we're going to skip over 4, 5, and 6, and we're going to number 7, which is 321 West Lancaster Avenue, remove 5 trees.
Can you find everything?
That's okay, go ahead, I'm ready.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Day from Shriner Tree Care. I'm actually representing Carol McMichael, the owner of 321 West Lancaster Avenue. If you look at the pictures,
We didn't get the pictures.
here, do you guys want them up there, or do you want just?
No, that's,
No, you're good.
put them right up on there, that'd be great.
Yep.
That lays out the 5 trees that Mrs. McMichael would like to remove out of the interest of improving the area. You can see that there are 2 areas of concern with erosion that have developed. There's just really, because of the competition of the root system and so forth, there's no room for any additional planting to take place. And in the interest of in improving the area, she would like to plant green giant arborvitae in this area here, and the addition of a flowering cherry tree, preferably Yoshino, at the end there, which would really tie in along the border that's along Lancaster Avenue. If you look right down here, that's where the cherry would be roughly located, just behind that existing shrub, and these 2 existing trees are to remain and get pruned.
It's across from Chile.
Exactly, yes.
That's right, they're all Norway spruce, all
Yes.
coming down.
All but one. One's a smaller Colorado blue spruce.
Okay,
This one right here.
I got you.
And the biggest DBH on the largest tree is 24 inches. The rest range from 12 to, well, the smallest one's about, I think it's 11 inch, 17, 14, 16, and the largest one's 24.
Mr. Ward, the applicant, there's a little spreadsheet there. Did the owner want to contribute funds to the, to our tree fund as opposed to compensatory plantings?
She'd prefer the compensatory planning. She'd like to improve the area, you know, and we just wanted to research that as a supplemental measure if needed.
Because if, just say, based on my reading of the ordinance, that those trees would be escrowed at $500. That would be $3,500 for the
Okay.
7 trees. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to see the trees, I'd love to see trees replanted in the area.
Right. Yeah, she would like to do the plan that we have laid out here with the green giant arborvitae to help screen out both the neighboring property, and they'll function a lot better in the space. It's only about, you know, it tapers from about 9 feet, 9 feet wide down to about 15 feet wide at the edge of her property, I'll say at the edge of the porch here. I'm calling it a porch, it's really an addition that she had put on years back, but it's only about 15 feet between there and the, what is that, Sherwin-Williams?
Oh, it's
door?
next to the paint place, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know which one it is,
Right.
Sherwin-Williams or MAB.
Okay.
And it's just that those trees are just, I'll say for sake of argument, outlive their space.
The trees he's going to plant are going to be small trees, like arborvitae and
Well, they'd be probably 12 to 14 feet installed, and additionally, there's going to be probably 15 of them once it's done, said and done through that area. And you can see back here, there's also a bamboo issue that she's trying to resolve as well, because that has created just a mess on, I'll say both sides of the fence.
So let's break this down as one of our first to come in front of us with our new ordinance. John Hosbach, do you have a minute to chime in a little bit, Steve, as we read it? Being in the commercial district here, our rules get changed a little bit, correct?
That's correct.
So, per our ordinance, we're taking down a total of 5 trees.
Correct.
So going back in per ordinance in the commercial district, compensatory planting would be what?
Compensatory planting is still the same, and the escrow can actually come into play.
It's 7 trees required.
To go back in?
Yes, 1 each for the 11 to 17-inch diameter trees and 3 for the 24-inch that's coming down.
Okay.
But the applicant hasn't proposed shade tree or large canopy trees in that replacement.
For the ones, he would need 1 for?
Well, they're proposing arborvitae
Right.
as opposed to what we have on our list as part of the ordinance.
Understanding, we're just trying to be realistic with the space we're working with,
Maybe there's more of a screening purpose than.
Yeah. And go ahead, John.
What I would recommend,
John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to use you as an example.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we should follow the example of the escrow for this case, for the $3,500.
Okay, so the escrow gets put in,
It's put in. Once Ryan plants the trees,
Okay.
then the escrow is paid back out.
okay. So prior to any removal,
Correct.
escrow gets put in.
Correct.
Right, he'd come in, see Mary Ann Cassidy
Yep.
with a check for $3,500 that we posted in escrow. Upon inspection by the Public Works or Engineering of the trees planted, that escrow would be released. But it's not the amount shown with the application, it's more than that, it's $3,500.
And how,
7 at 500.
how do you collect, I'm sorry, just how are you calculating the 3,500? How does that? how you-
$500 per tree.
$500 per tree, as per the new ordinance.
Okay.
do we care, I mean,
Yes.
what kind of tree they plant?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
What kind, we care what kind of trees you're going to plant, like canopy trees or what?
In this application, there, it'd be tough to say that would be an adequate area to sustain canopy trees. Up here, it's a heavy slope there, so, in order to plant canopy trees, I mean, you'd have to really hollow out one side of it, and you're really going to be creating almost a cliff on that back side, and, that's going to create a compromising situation for anybody that may step close to that side. So with respect to canopy trees, it's just not a plant that'll function there well at all.
The bamboo's coming out?
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
need to get all the bamboo out, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So on our compensatory tree replanting, they're putting in a row of arborvitaes and a cherry tree. That's not going to fulfill our criteria
No.
if there's not any canopy trees going to be going back in for the trees between 19 and 29-inch diameter, which there's 1 tree.
I'm sorry?
There's 1 tree over 19-inch diameter?
There's one tree.
So the replacement formula would be 3 replacements, 2 being large canopy trees.
Correct.
So you can't replace the 2 large canopy trees because there's not enough room in this planting aisle to plant a canopy tree.
Then those 2 trees, as opposed to escrow at $500 a tree, that could go to the shade tree fund that would not be reimbursed upon planting. There'd be $1,000 that would go to the shade tree fund for those 2 large canopy trees that were not planted. And when we do the big tree program, that money could be used towards installing more trees in the township.
Okay.
Well, you know, not to challenge the ordinance by any stretch of the imagination, it's just, you know, what else can you feasibly do in that space,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, there's
given
not enough room.
what, you know, unfortunately, she inherited to work with, I guess, when she purchased the property. So, like I said, her interests are to improve the space, you know, it's not out of, you know, neglect for the larger trees. I mean, I think we can all agree that, you know, an 80-foot tree existing in a, you know, 10-foot wide root zone doesn't present the best situation, especially in that heavily trafficked area.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes,
You said that area differed in width, right?
yes,
So at one end it's narrower and the other end it's wider?
yes.
Okay, so what's the range?
It's
9 to 15
yeah,
feet.
between 8 and 9 feet at the, up towards Lancaster Avenue, which is,
Right, up to 15, right?
yeah, which is this direction, down to, when you get just beyond the, it's an addition, I call it the porch, there's about
15.
15 feet between buildings,
Okay.
but there's also asphalt and so forth.
Right, but now, these are canopy trees already growing there.
They're growing.
And
there.
they're healthy. And there are canopy trees that can live actually in sidewalk, you know, container areas. I mean, where, like you take a London plane tree,
If I can just
they're all
inter-
through the city.
If I can just interrupt you, one of the most compromising parts is the slope. Right on the backside of this, it drops off. You can see that actually the dumpster's there, how much that drop-off is.
Right.
So, I mean, to physically plant those trees on that hillside does not present the best scenario for those trees to exist. And
But you haven't answered my question. There are the trees, there's canopy trees there, existing there now that are healthy. When you put the tree in, it's smaller. It doesn't, you know, you don't need to have that big of a pit to put it into, to start it. There's trees that can live in a very small area. Certain trees are very adaptable to small areas.
Correct.
Isn't there some way you could put one canopy tree in the wider end of it?
oh, I don't, absolutely, you could absolutely do something
Which
like
would be a
that.
very nice corner piece,
Yeah.
you know, and it would keep a, you know,
Yeah,
a nice effect over the arboretums to have one nice canopy tree going up in an area that, 15
I think-
feet,
I think
there are
she-
certain canopy trees that definitely can survive
agreed.
and thrive.
I agree with that, and if I could, I'd love to have John evaluate the site, if at all possible, so he could have a little better physical understanding of it.
Yeah, my concern, obviously, you know, in fairness to the applicant, is obviously they're not shade trees coming down, they're screening trees coming down.
Right.
Evergreens. If we could, like you were saying, Jack, you know, put one large caliper tree down, maybe at the end instead of the cherry.
Sure. Up
maybe-
closer to the, up
Correct,
closer
even
to
if it's just a
Lancaster
red
on the-
maple, something a little bit more native, and then do your arborvitae underneath, which is gonna, you know, provide the buffering that your client is looking to establish. I think that'd be fair.
I think that would,
With the escrow, obviously.
yeah, that would be good because there's only one really large tree in that group, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not really losing the shade, we're gonna gain with the new tree on the end.
Right. So we're agreeing with that? Just to recoup that, Steve, what all we're asking is upfront, $3,500 in escrow.
For Mary Ann's sake, they're going to plant one shade tree, and how many arborvitae?
I would say depending, obviously we want to be about that 12-foot range. You're going to be about, sake of argument, 10 to 15.
Okay, so we'll say 15 arborvitae, one shade tree, and the escrow is $3,500, and upon inspection, that money will be released back to the applicant.
Except for the one canopy tree. So the holdback's going to be 500. Right?
No, you're gonna still have $3,500.
No, I mean,
No, the ordinance says they have to put in 2 shade trees for the one over 18 inches or whatever.
Right,
So if
correct.
you're only putting one shade tree, you're saying that instead of getting 500 back out of escrow, that's got to go to the fund.
fund.
Okay,
But let me ask you a
correct, thank you.
question. But it also, I read the ordinance, and I thought it said that she also may have the choice, instead of putting it in the fund, planting a tree somewhere.
That's correct. My recommendation to this commission, we are, last year we did the Big Tree Project in conjunction with the Radnor Conservancy in Chanticleer, and we went back to many of the residents where the township took down trees in the right-of-way, and we're trying to do that again. So my request would be that any funds go in, any monies go into the fund so that it can be part of that program where we go throughout the township and replant shade trees where trees were taken down, as opposed to working outside of that on a 2 or 3 tree basis.
But the ordinance allows for that.
It
And
does.
Is it our decision to make that, or is it their decision to make that?
I believe it's your decision.
I'm not,
And I mean, from the get-go, you could require $3,500 to the fund, take away one tree, because they're not planting shade trees, you could, literally $3,000 could be charged to the applicant to go to the fund to be used elsewhere. If this commission is allowing the placement of 15 arborvitaes, even though they're not shade trees, that's this commission's, you have that ability to do so. But I would rather, instead of just being planted elsewhere, I'd rather the funds go towards the Big Tree Program, where they could be part of a systematic planning that we're going to do later this fall.
okay. What's it cost to plant a tree?
$500. No.
How'd I know that question wasn't coming
It
back?
depends on size and economies of scale. When we bid it, if we bid 60 trees, we get a better price than if we plant 2 trees.
So if she wanted, and I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand this. If she did want to go and plant it herself, she couldn't go to the Home Depot, pick out a tree that's 2.5 inches in diameter and ask you where to plant it and go plant it? Pick
Well,
someone to go plant
We
it?
would refer that it would be a tree from the list, and we'd have to have a place to plant it. And most likely
Right.
that would be a park at this point, because we haven't gone through all the residents.
I'm a Parks and Rec guy, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but parks planting will also be part of that Big Tree Program. Again, a systematic program as opposed to just planting 2 trees. We're going to be looking at several parks and doing several trees.
All right.
Okay, so we're in agreement here on this?
I'm not sure exactly what we're agreeing to now after all this discussion.
I'm a little confused, too, to be
Yeah,
honest with
I
you.
know we are agreeing, they agreed to plant 1 shade tree. The-
And did we
Let me-
say that these aren't shade trees coming down? Did we agree to that? So we're actually gaining a shade tree here?
Correct.
Right? Okay, all right. What's that?
Well, why are they not shade trees?
They're not classified as shade trees.
But the ordinance doesn't distinguish, if you were to take down 30
Yeah.
trees that are conifers, you still have to replace them with shade trees.
Right.
It's not, the ordinance isn't about just cutting down shade trees, it's about cutting down any
Any
tree in the
tree,
township.
right. So it's looked at like any other tree, you just go by the,
Going back in with that
right,
tree.
yeah.
So, trying to be as fair as we can.
So we're taking down 1 tree, well, we're replanting 1 shade tree and 12 arborvitaes. And what now, so
Now,
15, okay, so we still are owed for compensatory plantings for 1 additional shade tree, right? With valued at 500.
Correct.
So the question is, I mean, I think it would be useful, and the 500, I think what Steve was saying, would go into the, if we levied the 500, it would go into the planting. We could authorize that to go into a tree planting.
Well, it goes into our,
Otherwise, it would just go into the general fund, our general.
No, the ordinance is specific, it
Yeah,
goes
it
to the
all-
shade tree fund.
it goes into.
Right.
It does not go to the general fund.
Right, the shade tree fund, but to be used for, which we could designate. Well, what was your point then, Steve, about the big tree planting?
That's a program where we're going to be planting, hopefully 50, 60 trees throughout the township. So right off the bat, we get good prices because of those economies of
Right.
scale. And that, as opposed to just picking a park and saying, let's plant some trees here, the group of people are going to go through all the parks, all the properties, and it would be part of a program.
Yeah,
And I'd rather, my suggestion and request is that money go to that.
right.
as
Okay,
opposed
so
to
that's
the-
an additional step. It would go into our fund, but you're suggesting that we make a decision now to have that money then forwarded to this big tree planting?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So that would be, so we would be getting $500 out of this for our fund, right?
Now, what if she chose to plant another shade tree in that
Then
planting
she'd be
scheme?
all right, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
right.
good deal.
But
that what you wanna do?
$3,500 still has to be escrowed until it's all done.
Exactly, then it gets planted.
But that would
and-
all be reimbursed.
Very well. Perfect.
So what is the
If you
final
do-
decision?
If you do one on each end,
Yeah.
then the 500, all 3,500 comes back.
Comes back, exactly.
Okay, for Mary Ann's sake, then, the applicant is going to plant 2 shade trees,
Yes,
From the
15
recommended list.
arborvitae,
yes.
escrow $3,500. Upon completion and inspection of planting, the $3,500 will be released.
Correct.
Sounds good.
Good.
I have a quick question here. Down at the thing at the bottom along the sidewalk, there's a circle with a dot in it. Is that a tree?
I'm sorry?
What's this thing down here?
This small shrub there.
Okay,
It's a small shrub.
it's not a tree.
Exactly.
Okay, we're good?
We unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, we have, number 8 is 115 Ashwood Road, 42-inch white ash, 1 tree removed to create play area for children.
And Mr. Vice Chair, just so we understand, due to the submission of this, this falls under the old ordinance, the previous shade tree ordinance.
Number 8.
Correct, 115 Ashwood Road is under the old ordinance.
Do we have anyone here for number 8? Or are we just,
Do you want to take this one? It's for Shriner Tree Care. You want to jump in on this one, too?
This was, nobody came to the last meeting for this tree, for this one. This is the second appearance at Shade Tree. It was tabled because nobody was here at the last meeting.
So can we just knock this off the agenda rather than table it again? Is that allowed?
You could approve it, you can deny it, or we could table it.
I think we should deny it because it's just removing a gigantic shade tree for no problem with the tree reported, just to create a play area.
It's healthy kids. They're not fat. You got to look at the price plus side all over the place. I don't know.
If you look at the picture, there's a lot of room around there. That's the only tree in the whole area, the large property.
Looks like there's some sticks falling off it too, or whatever. But who knows?
There's no
if I
report of
may,
any problem with the tree.
This, if I may, this may be one that the Shade Tree Commission, even under the old ordinance, you had the authority to go DBH for DBH, and this may be one that you would wish to consider if you did approve. 42 inches in diameter of replacement trees. 7 6-inch, 6 7-inch. I'm just putting that out there for the board.
I'd just like some more information on it myself to see.
We'll table it, and perhaps you could contact Mr. Shriner and let him know, as we discussed prior to this meeting, more information is needed for the Shade Tree Commission, and it'll be on at the next Shade Tree Commission, and he could attend. It would be great. Thank you, sir.
I do have one question, one point on this. I look at it and says here, does this work affect any other property in any way? Yes. And the next line says, if so described, it says no. Any idea what that means?
No, they didn't circle the yes. I think you're supposed to circle the yes, maybe?
I
I
think
don't
we
think
should
they
just let
typed in
the
yes.
applicant provide more information, better pictures, the whole 9 yards.
That works, thank you.
Thank you. We're on to our last on this. No, it looks like there's one more. Number 9 is 527 St. David's Avenue, addition, driveway modification, 360 cubic yards of dirt, leave on site, remove 20 trees, replacing with 32 new trees, 12 of which are large canopy trees.
Good evening. Dave Fiorello from Omni Associates, representing the applicant. We prepared a grading permit plan. We have Carter Van Dyke, our landscape architect, who has, I think, given you some copies of our tree plans. The project that we have before us is a property on St. David's Avenue that the owner wishes to construct a new garage addition to the house and to make some changes in the driveway. Currently, the driveway comes in, there's actually two forks in the driveway, one coming in off of the corner, off of St. David's Avenue, meanders, thank you, Carter, through the front of the house and then around to a back where there's a cottage, and there was another driveway coming on into what's called Ithan Avenue. The proposal is to construct a new building addition that will house the garage, new patio improvements, and then to abandon the driveway coming in off of Ithan Avenue, and then to bring in a new driveway entrance off of St. David's, create a courtyard in the front of the house, and then bring the driveway down to serve the new garage, and then tie into the existing driveway that goes back to the cottage. We have, I guess, identified on the smaller scale plan in the different colors the existing trees. It's sort of superimposed on the new layout, but you can see the shading in the lighter green, or the olive-colored green, are the trees to be removed. And our planting plan, we have a color copy here with the newer trees highlighted, along with a listing of the proposed trees that will go in to satisfy the tree replacement criteria of the new ordinance.
Mr. Fiorello?
Yes.
A couple questions for you. On sheet 2 of 5, where you're showing your finished contours,
Yes.
in the southeast corner, right-hand side of the driveway, there's a 20-inch maple, an 18-inch oak, and the finished contours go right through what your symbol for the tree is and end up somewhere near the center of the tree. And that carries up to the 18-inch oak up top, and even another 18-inch oak right by the bearing and distance line. And the two down there,
Talking
yes.
in here, yeah, we are sort of tucking the driveway in there, and the intention is to keep the trees there, but to grade up and sort of blend the contours for the new driveway into the grading along the trees.
I am not an arborist, but I'll defer to the Shade Tree Commission. I mean, I don't know if those trees should be showed as being removed, or if not, compensatory planting should be done for those trees in the event that they do not make it. But
Well, the one thing, Steve, we do have noted on the plan is we have added a note stating that should any additional trees be removed, additional replacement trees shall be provided in accordance with the Radnor Shade Tree Ordinance and the latest numbers. So we do have that covered by a note on the plan, recognizing that if any additional trees come down, they do have to be replaced in accordance with the ordinance.
This is Carter Van Dyke speaking here, just briefly, just to introduce myself. We also exceed your criteria because of what the intent is, what the client wants on the site. Your ordinance calls for a total of 32 trees, 12 being large canopy trees. We're actually providing 25 large canopy trees and 25 small to medium trees, as opposed to a requirement of only 20. And there's also, just to clarify, 3 of those trees are actually going to be transplanted that we show on the drawings. There are 3 6-inch weeping Higgin cherry trees. And after we reassessed it, one we're actually not relocating at all, but it was too late to change the paperwork. And but 2 of them will be transplanted with a tree spade. So we are actually exceeding your criteria, but we wanted to show you the intent of what we're trying to do for the entire
Sure.
site.
No, we thank you for that effort. And just, we could walk us through, Dave, from our entrance here on St. David's Avenue. We're going to split the difference between these 2 8-inch maple trees.
Yes, we have shown on the plan, we're splitting the difference between the 2 trees. We're showing on the plan a new entry wall. In my discussion with the architect, I think we took the worst-case scenario here where we would put a wall on either side. The intent is so at least pillars and possibly hedgerow instead of the wall around there. But the intent, yes, is to come in through there and split the difference between those 2 maples.
So are we firm that we're not going to put a wall in, or there is a wall going in?
This is Carter Van Dyke again. I really can't speak to that. It appears that what we have, these are actually small maple trees, or 8 inches. And when you look at that, I mean, you can move that easily with a 90-inch tree spade.
That's what I'm wondering.
And we're within the contact. The wall is beyond what you would get with a 90-inch tree spade. So that if we were to do a little bit of pruning really on 2 sides of that tree to put in the footer, I don't think it's going to have an impact in terms of nursery standards on those 2 trees.
Would you advise maybe transplanting those out of the way?
We could, easily.
Doing your work?
Yeah, we could transplant them. That's not a
Augmenting
problem.
your soil, and then bringing those trees back into
Or
that spot?
relocate them elsewhere on the site.
Or
Yeah.
relocate them?
Yeah, absolutely. That wouldn't be a problem.
Would that be a recommendation that you could advise?
Actually, I think from a design point of view, I think that's actually preferable. I think it'd be nicer to do that.
Okay.
And if the board supports that, we'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, I think that
Sure.
would be advisable to do. Just walk us through it, Dave. We're coming up the new proposed driveway. As Steve mentioned with these, we do have some grade changes. We're at 120 scale here.
Yes, we are.
So we're putting the trunk of that first 20-inch maple tree on the, on the east side of the driveway that we approach here. We approach a 20-inch maple and an 18-inch oak. We're probably like 15 feet off from the driveway cut.
I think, Mr. Ward, I think you addressed a very good point there. What we could do, I mean, 20 feet is fine, but we are cutting, the way it appears, the way the contour is working, we're cutting into the roots there. That's an area where I would recommend we put actually a small retaining wall there, so that right up at the ends of the driveway, we don't disturb the roots at all. When you look at that, I mean, we have a lot of experience working with this firm from Texas that moves large trees for us. And, we've moved trees up to 38 inches in caliber. And what we find is we have and with a tree like that, it's a 24-foot root ball. So 12 feet, so imagine for a 38-foot tree,
Right.
You're only going 12 feet. So if in here we have actually 20 feet, so we actually exceed that. So if we have, just put a cut there and put a small retaining wall there, I think that'd be fine. And then we'd really do minimal impact upon that tree in that location. And I think the same point was raised earlier about the tree at the far corner.
Right.
Pointed up there. I think that's also a very good point. We have some real challenging grade issues to get the grade down to where the driveway is, which is really just above the basement level of the house. And so in doing so, it was quite a challenge just to get a driveway that's not steep. So we have about a 6.6% slope, which is very doable. It's going to be, I think, it'll be a very attractive driveway. But to cut that down was quite a challenge, and we had, and that's what really drove a lot of the sacrifice, unfortunately, of some really key trees. One was a beautiful larch, on the property, which we're going to replace with another larch, and one was a really lovely oak tree, which there was no way we could have saved those 2 trees. So it's unfortunate. But I think that, given the suggestions here tonight, I think that just, we can do an eyebrow retaining wall around those trees and then make sure that we have actually minimal impact upon those roots.
And then we'll just keep our grading, would be very light around the outside. That retaining wall would kind of be in a semicircle around both of those trees.
That's correct.
Dave, what was that measurement? Was it about 15 feet to the driveway cut? From the center of that 20-inch maple?
20-inch maple to the center of the driveway?
No, to the edge of the drive.
I'm scaling around 8 to 9 feet.
So that's within the ballpark. So it means that if it's 8 to 9 feet, and you figure it's going to be a 15-inch or 18-inch wall, then we're going to be within, just on that one side of that tree, will be within probably 6 to 7 feet of the center of that tree. Now, one of the nursery practices that we look at is we don't want to disturb more than a third of the roots of the tree, all right? And I think that what we're looking at in just that one section will be within the ballpark there. I think we'll be in good shape. So I don't think the tree is going to unduly suffer. In addition, we also go through and put mycorrhiza on and other type of soil amendments in order to reduce the stress of the tree before any of that work is done. So that the tree is actually, but by the time we've actually gone through this process, we actually induce more root growth and actually, I think, help the tree in the long run. It's also been mentioned to the client, it's his intent to have irrigation, which there is not right now. So we're going to have an opportunity to reduce any stress to these trees thanks to having an irrigated site.
Cart, would there be any advantages of moving that driveway toward the west at all, away from those two trees, a little sweep? To give you a little bit more room?
I think we move it over a couple of feet. I think we could easily do that.
I mean, we're into it pretty hard at 6 foot into that maple tree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost to the
Yeah.
point of saying we're going to lose more than a third. We're into almost 50% root loss at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of maple that is?
I believe that was a sugar maple.
Sure.
I think that'd be fine. We can move that over a couple of feet.
if you can gain a little bit of room to the west,
Sure.
give us some room for your retaining wall and to save some more anchor roots on the tree. I think it
Yeah,
would be
that's a
important to
good
do.
suggestion, sure.
Joe, on those two trees, he's going to move the driveway to the west. That'd be great. A little bit of a sweep, and then a retaining wall is going to keep the grade away from the roots of the tree. And could we note the addition of the mycorrhizae and soil treatments prior to any construction and digging on that, please?
Yes, sir.
Just follow us up north along the new proposed drive, Dave. Is there a way we can tighten up those grade lines around that 8-inch and that 6-inch maple on that east side so we don't have equipment physically altering the soil underneath their root zones there?
I think you're talking about this area in here, Jim?
Down a little lower.
Down further?
No, towards the south.
Towards the south?
Right there,
Oh, in here.
yes.
Can we tighten those contours up? We can
Yes.
definitely do that.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
And we can keep the equipment off of that
Sure.
root zone in that
That way
area
we
there.
get tree protection and everything
And
else.
we do have tree protection shown along there, but that'll give us room to get a little bit more
We can tighten
further
that
away from the trees.
up a little bit.
Yes.
Coming up to we're heading north up the driveway now toward our parking court. An 18-inch oak, which would be to the north side of the bend here at that grade line 407, correct?
Yes.
Carter, we're going to be into that a little bit. Looks like from approximately, we're going to be about 12 to 15 feet off the trunk of that tree.
Let me just comment there. I think that's another area we can move that driveway. I'll tell you a little bit. One of the reasons for that alignment of that driveway is because we're actually trying to save at one time that larch, and there's a large Japanese maple. The two are sort of woven into each other. And more we looked at it, with the grades, we couldn't save them. But I think that now that we're looking at it with a fresh light and with your insight, I think it'd be easier for us to move that driveway a little bit to get it further away,
To the west?
to the west and also to the south.
Okay. And then, would there be a need for another retaining wall as we did down south?
I would recommend it, yeah, just an eyebrow wall.
And
just
then
to
we
help
could keep the
protect it.
grade off of the root system and the,
And one of the reasons is that we do have the grades the way they work, and this is something that Dave and I worked on together, is we're trying to come up with a grade that's at least a 1 to 3 slope, so it's easy to maintain. But I think that, given the criteria as we're discussing here today, it's really going to be more beneficial just to put the small walls in and just keep the ground as level.
Right.
And the tree roots just as undisturbed as possible.
that'd be good.
The retaining wall is going to be under the driveway, and it's going to be, the driveway's higher than?
The
Yeah, it's lower.
driveway,
It's
the driveway is actually lower, so the retaining wall would probably be about 2.5 feet higher. It wouldn't be a real major wall.
Are you going to be able to construct that without interfering with the roots of the trees?
Yeah, we would do a dry wall.
Huh?
It'd be a dry wall, which was it's a stone wall, but it doesn't have a footer. It just has a gravel base, and then it just stones laid on top with a little bit of mortar packed behind it, But it's basically, we call it a dry wall, so that way the water actually goes through it, and you don't need a full footer, and you just don't go through all that heavy construction, particularly when it's something as shallow as that. Less disturbance. Much less disturbance. A friendlier wall, let's put it that way.
Dave, could you walk us back to the pool, north side? It would be right above the pool on my plan. I have a kind of a dark line with square boxes attached to it. I'm on sheet 205.
We have here our subsurface stormwater management
Right,
system here,
Just to the west of that.
just to the west.
Yeah, my plan's a little different than yours.
Shouldn't be. We have there's an existing septic system in the backyard that has failed and is to be abandoned. So we have a sewer lateral that's running down the back to tie into a force main or a pump station to be constructed at the back of the cottage.
Dave, you want to look at my plan here? Sure.
He's concerned about you see where the purple is?
Oh, that was a mistake. That was something that was being considered, and it was dropped from the plan. It was on a drafting layer that shouldn't be there, so
That's not here.
That's not there.
Okay.
There's no wall there. There's no wall.
There's no wall.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, I apologize for that. I
No
caught
exit
that.
that tree.
Yes, the intent was part of the planning design that
Yeah, the
was on a drafting layer that didn't get turned off. I apologize for that. What's shown on the wall, what's shown on the plan is something that was being considered as part of sort of an overall concept plan and is being dropped and not being proposed at this time. And it was failure on my part to take it off the plan.
Dave, if we go north toward the cottage or the outbuilding toward
Yes.
the north, there's a 403 grade line that is moving east. It crosses the driveway.
Yes.
That does an S, okay? But
The intent with that is to create a low spot in the driveway to force drainage down to be collected at an inlet at that low spot to take it to the stormwater system so that we control the runoff off of our driveway.
so are you doing a full rip out on this whole drive all the way to the cottage?
No, down
Change that?
to a port here, I think there's the grading changes are sort of an asphalt overlay type thing.
Right.
So this plan, I think on sheet 1, Jim, shows the intent for pavement removals so that We are taking pavement out here. There's a section of paving that will remain, and that the new driveway where it will tie into that, which is shown in the gray on the plan, will tie into that, and there'll be some minor adjustments to the grading at that point just to make sure water doesn't flow all the way down the driveway and gets captured by our inlets into our stormwater system.
Right, just,
Mr. Ward, if I could just comment on that. One of the issues and the reason for that low point there is because currently, right now, the water runs right into that structure. It's the old garage, and there's actually a brick front there, and water just shoots right through there. And it's a two-story structure, so you can imagine the damage it's creating. So we really have to create redirect that water, as Dave was just mentioning.
Just as it's shown here, we do have a grade line change that would be between that 18-inch oak and the driveway. If I'm reading this right, that 403 kind of hooks back and goes north there, Dave?
Yes, okay.
Correct. Right there, Dave.
Right in this general area.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you mean to do. You want to push that water into that drain box.
Yes.
So you're going to have to overlay that drive
Yes,
to get
in
it
order
to
to
where you
accomplish
want to
that.
cut it, right?
Yes.
So we're not ripping the driveway out.
Correct. That
So
is-
if we just refrain from doing that grade, do we need that to move that earth underneath of that 18-inch oak right there, Carter, or can it be?
No, actually, it's, let me explain. That's actually, as Dave said, we're actually just adding some asphalt to an existing driveway.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
So we're not disturbing anything in that area. So what you're looking at is.
It's just the blacktop change.
It's just the
I got
blacktop
you.
change,
I
yeah.
got you.
Yeah. That's correct. We just want to make sure
Yeah.
we divert it.
What page is the tree protection fence on, Dave?
Should be sheet 3 with our erosion and sediment controls.
In the light blue X tree
Yeah.
fence?
Yeah, X's.
That is correct.
can I ask about the Osage orange that's coming out on the first page? That's near that stone wall you say you're not putting in, right?
That is correct.
So are you
It's
still?
actually in the middle of, that yard. And the reason that tree is coming out is the client has two small children, one's 3 and one's, I believe 4.5. And we were there this fall as they're doing under construction. There must have been about 500 Osage oranges in the back, on the lawn. And it's a safety issue. They just don't want their children back there just getting bombed by these Osage orange trees. And I can certainly empathize with that. I've never seen such a prolific Osage orange tree in my life. It's one of my favorite trees. I enjoy them.
Uh-huh.
But but I can sympathize and understand what their concern is.
Dave, are you showing any new sewer lateral, or there's no new digging or underground utility going in?
What we're doing, Jim, is there's an existing septic system in the backyard that has failed.
Right.
The intent is to construct a small pumping station at the corner of the outbuilding, and to run a sewer lateral down, tie into that, and then run a force main up to tie into the sanitary sewer that's out in St. David's. And that line, we show that line sort of paralleling the new driveway, figuring that it would be put in about the same time the driveway is being put in.
So from the house to the septic stays, Or is that a new line going from?
We're figuring on a new line right now because we're not sure where the existing goes. I know there's a lid here. We're not sure what the system is, but with the construction of the new building, it only seems proper to put in new lines from the building down to the pump station.
And I saw the detail on that pump.
Yes.
Going in. Is that the extent of our digging back there on that north side of the small cottage house?
Yes.
Just,
Yes, that and the
Before we-
force main that runs up parallel to that to then bring the flow back up to the street.
okay. So there's no overdig that would encroach into that 14-inch walnut that would be to the north side of that?
No, it shouldn't be.
That E1 unit is commonly used, and it's great because it is kind of compact.
What's the size of that thing? It says about 150 gallons? Or
I think it's a 250-gallon tank. We show details on our plan, I think on the second to last sheet. It's roughly, diameter-wise, we're showing with a 5-foot in diameter, basically, with a concrete weight at the bottom. So the tank itself is only about 4 feet in diameter.
So it's not like the giant precast box we're
No.
used to seeing, right?
No.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
And then the force main is coming as the FM line coming all the way up?
Yes, that
All
is
the way up
correct.
the driveway?
Yes.
And out.
We are also showing a new water line to service. There's a water meter at the corner, shown here with my arrow right off of Eichen Avenue. We're showing a new water service to come in and serve the building.
So you have your new water mains coming in?
Well, we have a new service from the meter. The meter, like I said, is on the property line, so we have a new line running from there to the house.
Let's just go over this tree protection fence real quick, starting down at St. David's. We agreed that these two 8-inch maples are going to be temporarily transplanted, Carter, or?
That's correct.
Okay, so will this fence detail gets deleted for then?
We can fix that, yes.
Stays for our 10-inch maple on the,
Yes.
on the left-hand side, runs up a driveway, gives you enough room to put in that, that little hip wall that you want to put in,
Right.
but we're moving the driveway west a bit.
Correct.
Okay. We follow that tree protection up, and we're going to do some grading changes by our small maple and whatever the two small maples there, so we don't get too close to them,
Yes,
and then tighten up our tree protection to give us a little bit more room for equipment.
correct. We have a detail on the plan.
You have a detail on the new tree protection fence too,
I
Dave?
have tree protection barrier fence on sheet 4, which we're showing a 6-foot-high chain link with the 2-inch posts
Correct.
per the new ordinance.
And then finally, with our 18-inch oak, that tree protection will be just the 18-inch oak that's further north, closer to the carriage house on the right-hand side of the drive.
We'll try to get that closer to the drive, just to
drive as
reflect the, yes.
Okay. And our total trees coming out here,
20. We have a tree count, I think it's on sheet 2. It's also,
it's right here. This is your replacement sheets on L1.
yes, on L1, we have the information.
Yeah, I could speak to that. I've got my glasses here, so I can see. We have, the only thing we're talking about is we have 3 weeping cherries, one which, 2 which are actually going to transplant, and 1 we're actually not going to move at all. So that one's a wave. And then we're talking about transplanting 2 new maples, as we discussed tonight. But our reading before was we had a total of 32 trees, 12 being large canopy trees necessary to be replaced. And we're replacing 25 large trees, which is really more than twice the number required. and we have 29 small to medium trees, and we're required to put in only 20.
The transplants aren't counting.
I beg your pardon?
The transplanting trees
We
are,
made note there. If you look down below, you'll see, we talk about the 3 Prunus subordinate pendulas.
Right.
As transplanted, and we're just for the sake of record keeping, we just have them as trees that are, as being transplanted on the plan. Even though up above, they're listed as trees that are coming down.
When we did our original tree count, we did not take into account the transplants, so that our trees being removed do include those couple that are being transplanted. So I think we update our tree information. If we're transplanting them, I guess we don't need replacement trees for them, so technically we would reduce the number of replacement trees we actually need.
right.
So we're that much more ahead of the game here, I think, with the number that are being provided.
Correct. That number, the transplant number is going into the total number of your compensatory trees, though, right?
Right.
So
So for the
just back that
record,
out.
on Dave's calculations, the 3 weeping cherries, 1 is actually remaining and 2 are going to be transplanted, so you can strike those off.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you run, because we need 12 large canopy trees. I'm just sorry if you could run through that. And you're showing the installation of 9
Yeah.
in the upper portion, right?
Yeah, I just, without going through all the calculations, but working back, because the weeping trees are actually small trees and not large trees, I think the total figure would actually be 29 trees, but we'd still have to comply with the 12 large canopy trees.
Right, and that's where my calculations show a total of 32 compensatory trees are required, 12 of which are large canopy.
That is correct, and that's what's based on the plan, Steve, but I think Carter is saying that our tree count of the trees being removed included those 3 being transplanted,
Okay.
so if we back them out, it's a
Okay,
little bit less.
thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
So then the 9 large canopy trees is adequate?
Okay.
Can you go over again which 3 are being transplanted? Somehow I lost that in the
Certainly.
discussion.
I could probably point out the easiest on here. Right here, here, and here are the, I'm sorry, these are the 3 weeping cherry trees right here. And this one is actually staying in place, and those 2 are, I'm sorry, those 2 are being transplanted,
Okay.
and that one stayed in place. They're actually being relocated at the entrance, so when you come in, you're going to come through, a drapery of weeping cherry trees, which I think would really
Which would
be
be
lovely.
nice.
It's a great asset. We try to reuse as much as we can. So it's,
Steve, where's this put us with the escrow?
The escrow is considerable.
And I
We-
think
we
we
fig- we- we-
put together the escrow estimate, Steve. I think you should have had it with the application.
I will double-check that, and, I mean, if the Shade Tree Commission is okay with this, I'll make sure the escrow is adequate, and we'll move forward from there.
I should have brought a copy with me, but I know we put it together and it was submitted with the application.
Okay, Doug? Jack?
This shows a lot of concern for the trees. I just want to commend you on the plans and all the care and you're taking with the trees, and looks like they really are paying attention to it to me.
Steve? We in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're fine with this plan, and
We'll make those changes.
Yeah.
Steve, do you want us to make the changes and resubmit, or do you want us to wait until we get the engineering comments?
Why don't you wait to get the engineering comments, because if there's any changes required on that, you can do it all at once. I hate to see you make changes
So do I.
based on Shade Tree Commission, and then the engineering review either countermands them or there's a conflict. So we could do both together.
All right. Well, we'll resubmit once we get the engineering comments, and we'll
Yes, sir.
satisfy the engineering comments and tonight's comments here.
That would be fine.
Terrific.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorello.
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Carter.
And I must say, it's nice being back here. Many years ago, I think 20 years ago, we developed your park and rec plan. And this is a new building for me. It's been a long time since we've been back, so it's nice to be back.
Good to have you.
We have some notes on old business. 115 Stratford Avenue, initiation of fines for removal of trees.
Sure. Yes, Mr. Chairman. I've asked that this item be put back on the agenda. This is an item that we've been in discussion since it's going to be coming up almost on a year in which the trees were removed. It's to my understanding that there is a agreement of sale in place to actually sell that property to a developer. And when this is taking place, I believe an application has been filed today for the particular project. And what I'd like to do is, since no work has been done to rectify any of those situations, that we go forward and implement the fine of $2,000 times the 7 trees that were agreed upon taken down in air for the amount of $14,000. And then those funds would be put into that tree fund.
Okay. We didn't carry through with that from before, or that it was in place when we finalized that?
What we were doing is we were waiting for the applicant and his attorney to come up with a plan to replant and then also do the stormwater management within the area, which I don't think we ever agreed on a final plan. And now that there's an agreement of sale on there, we believe now is the appropriate time to go ahead and initiate the fine.
Okay.
So the guy,
Is it fine?
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
the restaurateur guy, he decided to bail out?
That's correct. If there was ever anything to bail out of, but that's just my opinion.
Do you know what month, when that was covered, when the original decision was made?
It was in November. It was the November 30th meeting is when there was a determination that
2012?
That's correct, that there were 7 trees and penalized at $2,000 per tree. But actually, this process had begun months earlier there, when the trees were actually recognized that they were taken down. Then there was a lot of discussion since that time to this point of the total number of trees, because I think at first there was almost 30 trees, and it was determined then,
Oh, I remember
going
that,
through
yeah.
the process, that it was 7.
And the fine is how much?
$2,000 per tree.
No problem with that.
That's great. On the last note, we have a hazard tree report. It is at 626 Glenmary Road, St. David's. You look at this, John? Okay, it looks to me it's in bad shape, so that's approval there. Okay. And I think, any other comment? I think that's it for our March meeting.
No, sir.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you.